Hello and welcome to Coffee with Cafe. I'm Chef Kurt Bachman and I serve as the president of Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Escoffier is proud and honored to partner with Cafe in hosting these Trends presentations, which help fulfill Cafe's mission of linking the food service classroom with the food service industry. Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts is a learning community, and our goal is to help prepare students for exciting and satisfying careers in the culinary and hospitality industries. We do this by providing professional programs which are focused on sustainability, farm-to-table philosophy, and business operations. Students who choose to study with Escoffier are offered an accredited education through the flexibility of 2 residential campuses or online programs. So thank you again for joining us today, and please enjoy this week's presentation.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Andrea Schepke. I work with the National Honey Board to connect the food service world with honey information and, as we like to say, sweet inspiration. So I'm here to share some information about kind of what's trending in terms of honey as well as menus. So bear with me too if you hear some barking. We have a pandemic puppy amongst us. Okay, great. So we're going to just, and afterwards we will have a Q&A period. So please feel free to jump in there as well and leave any questions. Okay, so the buzz about honey. Honey obviously is not a new ingredient, but there's a lot that it has going for it. And especially right now, it just seems to be at the sweet spot of a lot of trends. First of all, honey has outseeded sugar as the #1 sweetener. This was a first-time event, actually, in terms of seeing that in research. And so it actually outpaces all of the natural sweeteners as well as sugar now in terms of consumer preference. It's less processed, even amongst natural sugars. It really is very unprocessed. There's not a lot that happens to it between the bees processing or creating it and then it going to the bottle. Okay. Next, please. Next slide. I'm not seeing it. Additionally, it is zero waste, which is, let's see, I'm not seeing it, but zero waste. There's really nothing that goes to waste. Even the wax can be used. It's edible, so it also doesn't spoil. And so really there, it's very friendly that way for food service operators. Less is more. In terms of honey, you can use more or less to achieve the same amount of sweetness as you would with other sweeteners. So you're actually conserving. You don't have to use as much honey as you would other sweeteners to achieve the same taste. Okay. Next, versatility. Honey really, I think, part of its popularity is the fact that it can do so many different things. It can cross day parts, it can cross beverages as well as food. Okay. It has that health halo, the better for you kind of sense that consumers have. So next, after better, oh, sorry, we're playing catch up here, zero waste. And then next, less is more. We covered that. Sorry, I'm not giving very good cues because of our issues on this end. My apologies. Versatility, we covered that in terms of day parts, menu parts, food and beverage. Better for you. It's better for you in terms of it's got antioxidants. Unlike other sweeteners, it just has a lot going for it. It's really perfect in functional applications, functional foods. And then better for the planet. It's a sustainable choice by supporting beekeepers, and you're helping bees by buying honey, including it on the menu. You're supporting the whole industry that basically keeps bees healthy and thriving. And as we know, bees are so much more than just honey producers. They pollinate approximately 1/3 of the foods that we eat. Okay, next. Flavor. A lot of you probably know this, but honey is not just a single flavor. You can certainly find clover, which is sort of, to everyone's mind, sort of the gold standard of what honey tastes like. It's very widely available, but there are a lot of other fun varietals that you can play with as well. And it all just depends on where the bees sourced their nectar. So let's say a buckwheat honey, which is like the very dark one that you see there. The bees source their nectar from buckwheat. And so it just happens to naturally then create this darker honey. The lighter is something like perhaps an alfalfa. And then kind of in the medium, kind of mid-tones, you've got things like clover, wildflower, etc. And they all have different flavor nuances. So that's a fun thing and you're still starting to see more on menus as well as in grocery stores so that you have more options. Okay, and then the last two items here, function, and we'll get to the next in a second. These two really play into, I think, why we're seeing so much activity in terms of honey menuing. Functionality, honey really is such a great balancer. And it kind of ties into something that that is in the current issue of Cafe Gold Medal Classroom's e-newsletter, sweet and heat, that particular trend. So we will take a deeper dive shortly into that. But honey really is an ideal kind of plays well with others type of ingredient. It balances salty, spicy, sour, bitter tastes. A lot of folks like it in their coffee these days. It's in a lot of specialty coffee applications because it does balance the bitter. And also it's just a natural emulsifier. So if you're looking at clean labels, it's ideal to include in, let's say, a sauce. So sweet heat and sauces are sort of some of the key words there that we'll look at as we look into the sweet heat trend. And then lastly, honey, it's on trend. It's like I said, not a new ingredient, but we have seen continued growth on honey menus or on menus with honey inclusions. And so we're going to share more details of that with you shortly. Great. So now we're going to take a deeper dive into honey menu trends with a ultimate focus on sweet heat. I'm sure you have all seen it, tasted it, probably done some innovations with it. And this is just a bit of a look at the trend. And then if you want to refer back to the latest issue, as I mentioned, of the Cafe Gold Medal Classroom e-newsletter, you'll see an article that gives recommendations for ways that you can incorporate that into your classroom instruction. Okay. So this is a bit of an eye chart, but just to help you out here, this shows the growth of honey menuing. Mentions from starting back in 2010, we've been tracking, and it has gone up virtually every year since then. It's projected to increase another 5% on menus over the next 4 years. And this is something that we look to every year to see kind of, is innovation continuing, and also figure out where we can provide some resources and support to help chefs and educators kind of maximize the application of honey in trending ways. Here, I'm kind of a data geek, so I thought I would share this. Overall, honey is on approximately 60% of US menus. And if you look at where it's being menued, it's the top 3 are entrees, appetizers, and alcoholic beverages. So honey cocktails, as you may have seen and experienced, those have really become quite popular. And in terms of growth, we're looking at sides, desserts, and non-alcoholic beverages. as places for continued innovation and areas where things are really kind of heating up. So non-alcoholic beverage, of course, is getting a lift from the non-alcoholic beverage trend, and a lot of folks are turning to honey as the sweetener. Okay. This one, we're going to look over in the trending column, which is always interesting to us, just to get this data and see kind of where honey is being used. And that kind of inspires further thought and innovation. Perhaps not surprisingly, or maybe surprisingly, chicken dishes are the top dish featuring honey. And a lot of that growth, as we will see as we look at a little closer, is coming from dishes like fried chicken and waffles. So in that right-hand column, under the green bar, we've got the top performers really are chicken thighs, fried chicken sandwiches, and chicken and waffles. And over the past 4 years, those have all shown triple-digit growth. Then we get into a little more variety. Bee's Knees mentions, so the cocktail is trending and has grown significantly. And then other, what we kind of identify as sort of healthier, better for you applications. So skewers, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, green tea, bowls. We're seeing honey being used there. And then, of course, some comfort plays, lattes, mac and cheese, pizza, and hummus. So this kind of takes us to an interesting place. When you look at, chicken sandwiches and chicken dinners and things like that, when we look at what really, sorry, if you want to advance the slide, that'd be great. Thank you so much. Some of the recent introductions, for example, are the honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A. So that's where we're seeing the hot honey combination. We've got honey and we've got pickled jalapenos paired with pimento, which of course is trending. And those all come together in a Chick-fil-A sandwich. So you know that you are kind of reaching that ubiquity when you are landing on menus like Chick-fil-A, and we'll see a couple of other examples. And then Popeyes had the hot honey chicken dinner. Again, they are using their own red hot honey sauce, and it just creates this really flavorful wow. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Okay. So sweet and heat. The sweet heat trend, it's interesting because I started first mentioning this at some of our, the National Honey Board meetings, maybe 4 years ago. And then again, the next year it came up and I thought, oh gosh, is this, can you talk about a trend for 2, 3, 4 years straight? Well, you can when it's still really growing. So, honey really is at, we like to say, the sweet spot. But in general, the sweet heat trend, you're seeing other applications, you're seeing heat with maple, you're seeing all sorts of different kind of takes on this, and sometimes fruit with heat, mangoes, etc. So it's not just honey. But you also find it in American applications as well as global cuisine. And as you'll see in some of our other examples, there's a lot going on with hot honey in QSR applications. So the why, the article in Cafe goes into some great explanations there and why it's, such a great partner for sweet and heat and why folks are drawn to it. But we tend to think that it's younger consumers who really like the heat and the spice. And so to make it palatable, craveable, and for some of us who aren't completely sold on extreme heat, it provides that balance and it kind of tempers the heat. And so that's why this is such a craveable combination. And so there are some great examples, as I mentioned, in the current issue that you can check out afterwards. So next slide. Just one more, please. Thank you. So honey, it is at the center of the heat and sweet trend. Hot honey mentions, and this includes branded as well as unbranded. We all know that there are some popular hot honey bottled sauces that you can buy, but lots of chefs are making their own. Hot honey mentions have increased 176% over the last 4 years. And Data Central provided that data. They also have a functionality that projects another 33% growth over the next 4 years. And then just to let you know, it's not just hot honey. We looked at other kind of versions of that. We looked at sriracha honey, chili honey, spicy honey. Those have all made major gains over the last 4 years and even just year to date. And there are a couple of the examples up to the right, the KFC introduction of their hot honey, McDonald's spicy honey barbecue. It's just, it's exploding really as a trend. So just to kind of look at a couple of other applications, honey, and also honey provides just the right amount of sweet to today's heat. It plays well with others. It doesn't overpower. You can use the right amount of honey to make sure that it's balanced and not, overly honey flavored or sweet. It just really is a great kind of companion, really. So you see a couple of different applications, chicken wings, of course, and then here's a spicy sweet lava cake. And we've got recipes we can share with you post-event here. And then we've got a jalapeno cocktail. So, definitely some heat in there and tempered with honey. And these are all available on honey.com as well. So apologies for the rocky start. We have herded the animals, and thank you so much for your patience and understanding. At this time, let's go ahead and look at the questions. Okay, I'm seeing the one about fake honey on the market. How can you make sure you're getting the real thing? Okay, let me see where I can go with this. Thanks. So there is the kind of the rumor that what you find in grocery stores isn't real honey. There are tests that I can share those. I believe they're on the Honey Board website, but for the most part, you can be assured that if you're buying your honey from a reputable source, a grocery store, for example, you can trust that most of the honey that you will find there is definitely pure honey. Of course, look at the ingredient list. If it shows anything other than honey, sometimes there are kind of, for example, you would never probably buy your honey at a dollar store, but you will find sometimes fake honey in places like that. Another kind of misconception really is that there's like this big honey and then there are small local, beekeepers. There is some truth to that in that a lot of folks are getting into beekeeping. But, the same process takes place whether you're doing it at mass scale or if you're doing it on small scale. So we have videos on the Honey Board website that show what some of the top, largest producers of honey, their fields, their process, kind of hearing from them. And really what they do is no different because essentially the bees are doing all the work. Did anyone, if you want to populate any questions into the Q&A section, happy to answer those. You're also welcome to reach out to me directly at any point. My email address is aschepke@ehy.com. Again, aschepke@ehy.com. Happy to answer any questions, let you know about resources that we have available to you. We would love to support you however we can. We can share recipe ideas. We've got lots of kind of things in the works. We've got a hot honey handbook planned, but not yet executed. And so we'll be capturing some of this information. Let me check. I think we might have a few questions. How to help the bees. Okay, great. And then tips on a honey tasting for students. Great questions. So to help the bees, there are tips on the Honey Board website. There are a lot of great organizations that are working toward helping the bees. There's a lot you can do at home just as a person, as a consumer. For example, I think it's no mow May right now. Let your weeds grow, let them, feed the bees that are buzzing around. And also planting pollinator friendly gardens. You can find out which are native to your area. There are a lot of resources on the internet, and I can direct you to some of those if you want to reach out to me as well. But I try to support the honey industry, of course. When I buy honey, there's 5% of the annual revenue that goes toward bee health research. There's a philanthropic organization called Project Apis M, which means it's Latin for the honeybee, Project Apis M, and that they handle the research to help ensure bee health and see what can be done differently or better in terms of, honey processing, growth, etc. A lot of what's going on is honeybees just need nutrition. They need forage, they need plants. And so there are initiatives to plant wildflowers, cover crops, all sorts of things. And Project Apis M handles that research. So like I said, 5% of the National Honey Board revenue goes toward that bee health research. So that's based on purchases. Let's see. So a honey tasting, we can provide some support on that. We've got tasting maps that we've used. Essentially what we like to do is maybe showcase, let's say 3 to 5 different varietals. At a minimum, it's nice to have kind of a light, a medium, and a dark, and walk them through each of those, with a little tasting spoon. It's a pretty simple setup, and you don't need much honey. What we've done, you can either pair it with different foods, and there actually is some information about that in the e-newsletter this month that talks about how to kind of do a hot honey tasting and demo. But in terms of just honey itself, you can try it with things like dried cranberries, walnuts, cheeses, even different kinds of cheeses. And it's fascinating to see how the flavors play off of each other. So yeah, there are great ways. I'm getting hungry, but there are great ways to kind of sample it. Or you can just taste the honey itself. We have chefs, we take them to honey summits every year, every other year, and walk them through the different varietals. And it's really eye-opening, no matter, how long you've been, working in food service, to experience those different varietals next to each other. A couple that I recommend trying, just because they're more easily available, would be clover, orange blossom, and wildflower. Buckwheat is a great dark one to try that's very kind of savory, funky, some describe it as. I know chefs love it. And then on the light end, real delicate, you've got things like alfalfa, sage, I believe, is a great one. And there's something called the Honey Locator on honey.com, which is just a tool to show you honey providers in your area. So you can search by zip code, see who's there, see what varietals they have, or you can ship a varietal from anywhere in the States. For example, if you wanted to try an avocado honey, you could likely find that either in California or somewhere online, just to try something new and different. Let's see. Okay. I'm not seeing any other questions at the moment, but feel free to reach out to me or plug anything in right now, and I'll take one more if you're interested. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Thanks for having me today.